Welcome, welcome! I'm Mud Dog with the Texas Space Navy bringing you another Star Citizen video. And today we're going to talk a little bit about racing and the current flight model. So I spent about 2 hours racing last night, and this used to be one of my favorite game modes of Star Citizen. I could get in Arena Commander and race for hours and hours. I honed my skills over hours and hours of doing this because it was fun, it was enjoyable. There was the skill level that it required to learn the perfect line, to cut off seconds off your time. It was enjoyable. I can't say that now. The game has changed. The flight model has changed a lot since back then. I found myself thoroughly disgusted trying to do this last night. It was almost punishment. It was almost torture, doing this over and over and over again. I died so many times. My ship blew up so many times, and it used to. You know, back in the 1.3 alpha, when I feel like the flight model was much better, you would crash a few times here and there, but you had much more control over your ship. You weren't sliding all over the racetrack. You weren't drifting non-stop. And I understand some people think, oh, well, now it's more realistic. You know, that's more fun. Well, I'm not in that boat. I don't feel like this version of realism is fun. I don't think combat is as fun. I don't think racing is as fun. I do like playing in the persistent universe. I like the stuff that they have in there. I like where it's headed. But the flight model to me is taking a step back. And I know there's a lot of people that feel the same way, and there's a lot of people that feel exactly opposite. They feel like it's better. And, you know, that stinks. As you can see, my time in the P-72 was 1:29. That was about the best time I got in it before I switched things up. This is an M50 run. Right now I'm just showing you some of the faster runs, but I'm going to show you what it was really like here in a couple of minutes. Because it was not consistent good runs at all. I struggled a lot more honing my racing skill during this session than I ever did way back in the 1.3 era of the alpha. I know this has been a big debate on the forums about which flight model was better, etc. Nubifire has a really good video on it that a lot of people tore into, but I kind of agree with Nubifire on what he had to say about it. For me, the flight model was better back then than it is now, and doing the Arena Commander stuff was much more fun back then than it is now. And a lot of people will say that the persistent universe, you know, made Arena Commander pointless. Well, I disagree. I mean, that's where you go to hone your skills, you know, without any negatives. I mean, there's a 119 lap in the M50. Now this is the Arrow. So I mean, if you don't want to crash your ship in the persistent universe over and over again, this is where you're going to learn to fly. It's the best way to learn to fly, probably. The racetrack will definitely help you learn what your ship can and can't do. There's a lot of ships that the maneuverability really stinks on. Like, you're not going to use the Pisces on this. It's a nice little quick ship, but it's not maneuverable enough to do this. The Car-2 All, supposed to be one of the best maneuverable ships, racing ships, etc. It might be maneuverable, but it's too big. It's not going to fit through these ring gates very easily. So you probably wouldn't want to bring it. The Arrow is just maneuverable enough to make these laps somewhat comfortable. 350R is harder and harder to use that thing. It was always hard to use it doing these races. There's a 104 lap for you. It's always hard to use the 350R, even back in 1.3, but you could learn to be effective in it. You could learn to use it really well. To me, it's much harder to use now. And now I'm back in the M50 for another race. So, I mean, the Mustang series, the Gamma and the Omega, you know, you can use them as well. There's just not even a handful of ships that I would really want to take into the race course. Dogfighting, it's even more drifty, so you want more tanky of a ship. I mean, you could take one of the smaller ships in there and do pretty good, but if somebody gets a good shot on you, I mean, you're gonna explode pretty quickly. Especially with auto gimbals, where they don't even have to really aim that much. They just have to be kind of close, and the guns will do the aiming for them. I'm just not a big fan of the current flight model. Some people have accused me in some of my videos of sugarcoating this game, and this is definitely not one of those videos. And there's a minute in the M50. So you can see I was getting better and better laps. But this is what it was really like for me over these next few clips. You'll get an idea what my night was like. And again, I'm not bashing the game as a whole. I love the direction it's going, but I think it needs to improve the flight model seriously, especially with Squadron 42 coming out. If that doesn't do good, that really screws everything. I mean, they're still going to develop, I'm sure, but they want to make money off of Squadron 42. And Squadron 42 is going to lead to Episode 2, Episode 3, the Persistent Universe. I mean, they're going to have a product that is fun, enjoyable, and something everybody wants to play. And I don't like to race anymore, and it was one of my favorite things to do. I was in the top 10 in the leaderboard. I think I was in the top 5 at one point. It was enjoyable to grind this kind of stuff out, but it's not with this flight model. It's not. And I apologize to you guys who really like the flight model. I mean, I understand some people want that more realistic feel, but the best analogy, and it's not a good one, so take that with a grain of salt, is I used to tell people that asked me the difference between driving a stick shift and driving an automatic vehicle was that if you're driving a stick shift, it feels like you're driving the vehicle, whereas if you're driving an automatic, it feels like the vehicle's driving you. Does that make sense? It's that analogy is not even 50% accurate to the feeling I get from the flight model now and the flight model back at 1.3. You had much more control over your ship back then, and I just don't like where it's at. As I figure you guys have seen. So you can see I crashed quite a bit. This isn't even all of them, but I've sped them up so you don't have to sit through all of them because it gets tedious to watch them all back to back. Now we're going to go into probably my best run, the final run I made before I decided to hang it up for the night. And this is in my M50, and I have been using cruise control. It's not there's better ways to make this race. As a matter of fact, the time that I get at the end of this lap will only finish me 21st on the leaderboard if I were racing against other people. So that should tell you that there's a lot of ways to improve this run. But I had my cruise set at about 385-ish, and sometimes I was getting over that, especially in turns, drifting. I use the space brake and the afterburner anytime I'm making course adjustments. So just a little tip from me, if you want to have somewhat of a decent run, you can do that. A lot of people drift through them. I can't do that. But you see I finished with a 54.64. Not a bad time, but it's only good for about 21st on the leaderboard. Anyways, guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you like this video and you like my content. Hit that bell, let you know when I do more. I'm Mud Dog with the Texas Space Navy. I'll see you out in the verse.